Hello, everyone. I'm Jennifer Stahl, editor-in-chief of Dance Magazine. Thank you so much for joining us to celebrate the 2020 Harkness Promise Award recipients, Marjani Forté-Saunders and Kyle Marshall. These awards, which go to choreographers in their first decade of professionally presenting their work, are a collaboration between Dance Magazine and the Harkness Foundation for Dance. They are funded by the net proceeds from the Dance Magazine Award ceremony, which is sponsored by First Republic and Freed of London this year. Along with $5,000 and 40 hours of studio space, the award includes ongoing mentorship with the inimitable executive director of Harkness, Joan Finkelstein. And Joan herself is leading our conversation today, which we are very grateful for. She will leave us a little bit of time at the end for questions from all of you. So please pop anything you'd like to ask into the chat box and we'll get to it at the end. And I will go ahead and let Joan take it away from here. Thanks, Joan.
Thanks so much, Jenny, and welcome to everybody who is on this webinar. We are thrilled to be partnering with Dance Magazine and this support that you have all offered is helping us to extend the Harkness Foundation's pretty legendary support of the dance field and to extend it specifically to artists in their first decade of presenting their professional work, who we really feel are leaders in the field and who are going to take us into the future with, innovation and brightness. So we are thrilled to have been able to recognize this year Kyle Marshall and Marjani Forté-Saunders. So let's kick off this conversation. And before I even ask you a question, I just wanted to put our guests on a page and read a few things that you yourselves have written that just strike me as iconically you and about your art. So Kyle, you have written, "The dancing body is a container of history, an igniter of social reform, and a site of celebration." And you have done works which expose white supremacy and capitalism wound within our American bodies. That would be Wage. And you've written about Colored, which I think you first created in 2018 and then revised again in 2019, that it navigates the beautifully twisted spectrum of Blackness that the dancers regularly embody. And I thought these were really strong and beautiful statements. And then Marjani, you in your very recent collaboration with your husband, Everett Saunders, A Prophet's Tale, have written that the work is about the journey and philosophy of a prophet slash alchemist slash minister slash provocateur, the MC, the hip hop MC. And you've written in your artist statement that you are a student. You say, "I study the occurrence of magic and the ineffable cycles and co-occurrence of past, present, and future in all things, beings, and ideas," which is huge. And it's kind of the idea of the African notion of Sankofa, past, present, future, looking back to move forward. So this is by way of introducing you guys to our guests. And the first thing I thought, maybe you could just elucidate for us is kind of where you came from. Speaking of past, present, and future, kind of where you have come from in terms of your training and artists and teachers and thinkers who have been really influential for you as in your own art. Kyle, maybe we could start with you.
Hi, Joan. Thank you, and hello, everyone out there in cyberspace. Thank you for joining us today. I'm very grateful to be here. I'm coming from you today from Jersey City, my home, which is on stolen Lenape land. And I have curly hair, a gray sweatshirt, and there's a purple wall behind me with some art. I'm in my house. Um, a little bit about my past. I grew up mostly in New Jersey. I come from a family of athletes, a family of runners. So being physical and being active was something that was kind of beginning with me when I was very young. Started training little, did a lot of tap as a young person, a lot of tap, a lot of improvisation in my living room. I studied ballet for many years and then ended up going to Rutgers University, training and working there. I After that training, I spent some time a little bit in Rahway with J. Skeet Lee, who was a deep influence of me. She was a Black ballerina from the Dance Theater of Harlem. And she was kind of the first like Black teachers in that form that really helped me realize that my body is capable of many things, not just this form, and like allowing the space of Blackness to be inside of that medium and that form. That was really deeply influential for me, just to be in that space. I graduated Rutgers in 2011, and I worked in New York as a freelancer, working for various different companies and artists, Doug Elkins to name one, Tiffany Mills to name another. I was always making my own work. I was really inspired by Bill T. Jones as a young artist. Um, he really opened up doors for me, seeing his work. Fondly We Hope at Lincoln Center, Jazz at Lincoln Center, that like it transformed me as a young artist. I remember being influenced by a work by Jowle Willow Jozala and Urban Bushwomen. We did Walking with Pearls, Southern Diaries when I was in college. That was a transformative performance experience that still resonates with me. While I was making my work and freelancing, I ended up also joining the Trisha Brown Dance Company, which was probably another influence of mine. I've been with the company around 3 years now, and it's been a journey and also very deeply informative, getting to know her work from the inside. I was a fan of her work when I was younger, but it's been good to be in the company and gain those experiences that way. What else about me in my past? I formed my company in 2014, and the company members, Missy Robinson, Oluwadamilare Ayurinde, Bria Bacon, Miriam Gabriel, have been excellent collaborators of mine. I deeply respect them as people. I have learned so much from this journey that we've gone through together as an artist and as a person. And I've been very grateful that they've been in my work for the past several years. Missy and Dara in particular, we started Colored in 2016, and Missy's been in my work way before that, and Mimi's been in my work before that too. So they've definitely been great influences on me and my work and my creative practice.
And these dancers also went to Rutgers with you, did they
Yes,
not?
yes, they all went to Rutgers. I am the oldest. I'm actually not the oldest by age. Missy's actually 1 month older than me, but I was a grade above her in school. So I graduated 2011, and everyone else graduated sequent years after that.
And I actually remember going to Rutgers final performances, student performances, and noticing y'all. So
Uh,
just saying, just saying.
okay. Things will stay with us. Wow. Thank you for coming out to Jersey and seeing that show. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So Marjani, tell us.
Yes. Hi. Oh my goodness, Kyle. It's amazing to me just how many ways and times like pathways intersect. Um, and so, well, I guess I'm hoping that I'll arrive there and I'll try to be as succinct as I can. Um, but I would like to lift up my dance mommy, who I call her out lovingly, Naila Randall, who Bellinger. She's a professor at Harvard, actually, in their dance program, and is just really also a mover and shaker in Boston. And but before she was in Boston, she was a mover and shaker here in Pasadena, Altadena, the Dena that we call it, California. And as a mover and shaker, she opened my mind in such a rich way that it continues to resonate with me. And so in her junior dance company, she brought me in, and I was among the youngest, the smallest with my little pot belly. But she gave me my first solo to BB King, The Thrill Is Gone. And, you know, we danced to Prince and Miriam Makeba. She's how I learned about Miriam Makeba. Of course, fast forward 30 some odd years later, and I would be choreographing a play about our beloved Miriam Makeba. And so that Sankofa property is just, very strong in my life and one that I welcome deeply. Of course, after working with Naila, who introduced me to all the forms, including Dunham and Horton and Graham, um, I worked with Lady Wakir. Lady Wakir is actually Benverine's sister, based here in Los Angeles, California. And Lady, who has now passed away, God rest her soul, um, helped me understand more about the life teachings of Catherine Dunham. And so I owe her a great deal in helping me to understand um, what I might speak of as the intangible properties of performance and dance and storytelling, and how richly they're connected to our cultural experiences in the world, and how much our cultural experiences in the world are a point of great research. um, and continue to spiral and connect us to ancestral and and futurist ideologies. And so that was a really important factor in my dance practice. And, you know, moving forward, of course, through college, I went to LMU. I went to college out here, but I also went really young, as I'm sure you know, Joan, to college. I was like 15. Kyle, it was a mess. I know we're not going to talk about what happened.
How did that happen?
I was really young.
Brain
So
power.
I know. And I think part of how it is I grew up, the kind of school I went to. But um when I went to college, I struggled. I struggled, Kyle. I struggled in the dance program because I went to a Catholic Jesuit university. Don't ask me. It was in the area. And I'll say really quickly, am coming to you all from Pasadena, California, the stolen land of the Haha Magna people, also known as the Tomba tribe. But something else about this area of Northwest Pasadena is it is one of the densest populations of Black and Brown people in Pasadena, California, one of the wealthiest cities in Southern California. And so in this fashioned ghetto, I got to learn so much about my people and about who I am and where I come from. And so going to LMU was really tough for me at first. But people like Judy Scalin, who has now passed away, was the chair of that program, really opened gates for me. And it is while I was at LMU that I started studying at the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, the summer intensives, and got to work with Peter London and Denise Bell and, oh God, you name them, Elena Comendador uh, uh, and Reginald Yates. Gosh, these stories go on, but and short of it is eventually I found my way in the Urban Bushwoman Dance Company, working directly with Jawole Joe Zoller. And that was absolutely, as you said, Kyle, transformative. I was trying to figure out, was I there when we went to Rutgers? I don't think so though.
I don't think you taught the rep, but
Mm.
you at the performance, were you performing at the State Theater there? Do you remember? I mean, this was like 2009,
Oh,
2000.
I might have been. Yes, I
Yeah.
was. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
2009.
That
Yep.
show was fantastic. I still
Oh,
remember that show. It rocked the house. It
oh
just,
my gosh.
I had never seen such power in dance done by, like, it wasn't just about the body moving, you know, it wasn't just about like the costume, the lighting. It felt like things were emanating out of the performers.
Right.
And I remember feeling so like touched by that.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right.
because I didn't really have that experience up until then, like that kind of fullness of performance, and that kind of expectation of fullness of performance
Mhm.
each time was like, that was like, it was trained in how to get to that place. And it was pushed, and I really appreciated that as a young performer. And I remember as a student, that was a very transformative piece for all of us that were involved.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
What I
and
love about this cross conversation is that you see that artists basically of a similar generation. I mean, I think Marjani, you're a little older than Kyle, but I mean, to me, you're both young artists. Um, that artists impact each other. You see each other's work, and it opens doors. And Marjani, with Urban Bushwomen, of course, with Jowle, you had a lot of community organizing experience as well,
That's
correct? Can you speak about that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, I think again, this idea of sometimes we talk about what we see in performance is like, oh, that person just has it. But what was so powerful about my time with Urban Bushwomen was understanding how things are cultivated, was understanding how one can access the intangible and even naming all of the spectrum of what that intangible is. And so that's a science. And that's a science that's about relationship, that's about organizing, that's about dealing with one's racial analysis and, uh, a whole host of practices that I got to do with that really powerful, beautiful company that Jowle and several folks really pulled together. And Jowle has continued to spearhead and hold an ambassador for us. And so, yeah, Urban Bushwoman, that was also a place where I got to connect with Blondell Cummings, you know, yeah, you
The
know,
late and dearly missed Blondell Cummings.
man,
Before I go on, I will say that I'm broadcasting from close to Woodstock, New York, and it is on the ancestral land of the Esopus, a people of the Lenape peoples.
mhm,
And behind me is a virtual background, as I'm sure everyone has guessed because my head keeps changing shape. So we're grounded now a little bit in, kind of what has brought you to this juncture in your artistic lives. Let's talk about that now. What are you passionate about in your work? What leads you, what impels you to create dance and to create change through dance?
mm, mm, mm,
And I'll let you jump in
mm,
rather than designating you to speak.
yeah, yeah. Okay, well then I'll go first, Kyle. Okay.
sure, go for it.
um, I'll just say that what I feel really grateful about and hope to um, instill in my son was a great sense of purpose, which was about recognizing that I'm a link, I'm a member of this chain of things that have been that chain of lives and souls that have affected a kind of human elevation that have allowed people to understand more about who we are in the great scope of however you might identify it, the cosmos or order, however you might, whatever, however you need to align that for yourself, but recognizing that you are part of something larger. And so that sense of purpose has been a major drive for me. I think also I would say the last piece of that is of course and always speaking truth to power, truth, unabashed truth. which means that I stand on the side of justice, and I stand on the side of really speaking towards those undertold and untold as we speak of urban bushwoman stories. And so all of those things become strong drivers for me, and dance then becomes just the medium.
I recently listened to or watched a conversation that you had a couple of years ago with Bill T. Jones about Memoirs of a Unicorn, which I saw down in the cave underneath at 33 Bethune Street, and loved. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And in that conversation, you said you said some wonderful provocative things. One was you talked about the notion of spiritual warriorship. Another was that you said, I can't change minds, but maybe I can change the conversation, which I think is really key, right? Especially when our social discourse, our popular social discourse is rapidly shifting, rapidly changing. For art to drive a wedge into that and change the course of it, perhaps is an incredible opportunity, a confluence of what art maybe has always been able to do, but a confluence with our current moment that creates maybe even more impact. What do you think about that?
Sorry, someone just drove by. So I'm in a space that I lovingly call Saturn, but I don't know if you can hear, there's a Keisha Cole in the background, so forgive me. But I'm in utter agreement, I'll say as succinctly as I can, just in regards to the sound in the background. Kyle, what you think?
I can take
Hand it off to Kyle, yeah.
I agree what you're saying, Marjani. I also feel like for me, I'm passionate about dance and art making as a way of learning and liberating the body, the mind, and the spirit. I feel like that, especially during this time, I've really tried to settle into why am I moving? Why am I dancing? And before the training and all that stuff, I was moving. And so for me, I feel like art making is a way of bringing your own stuff to light, the internal into physical reality. I feel like then there's a place of contemplating and knowing what to do or how to change your thoughts, your actions. I also feel like the witnessing of art making can be a place of uplifting, can be a place of witnessing, and maybe not changing minds, but again, introducing a conversation, introducing a thought that is necessary, that disrupts maybe our everyday, that brings into question how we regularly inhabit, or brings into question how we can see each other maybe differently, or being informed about our past. So those are the things that I feel kind of passionate about in art making as a way towards liberating the mind, as a way towards displaying and sharing what needs to be shared. And dance is a medium, and maybe a medium that can help. It can help the things that are unsaid still be said. I think that the body and being physical can show what is hard to describe internally. At least those are my experiences.
And hard to describe verbally. So,
Yeah,
Kyle, you spoke about urban bushwomen's Walking with Pearl, which, by the way, when I was the director of dance for the Department of Education for that decade, we brought Jawale and company in around Walking with Pearl to look at legacy and its impact, how legacy lives in our teachers and their students. So that's just by the by, a little piece of history there. But Kyle, you mentioned that when you saw that work, the expectation of commitment, that was evident in the company dancers. The expectation that Jalale put was so much higher than you had seen in other dance works. But I would wager that the expectation of the audience is very high too. And this is what you're talking about what both of you are talking about when you reference bringing into the conversation the indigestible nugget that creates cognitive disequilibrium in the audience. And that is a moment, that discomfort, that moment is a moment that allows you to change your thinking, to change your feeling, because it may be, since it's a nonverbal art form, a feeling tone. Yeah?
Yeah.
Does that resonate with you at all? And what else might you add to that?
I would definitely say that it is an opportunity. I have learned so much from the making of the works that I've done. They have called me because of the subject matter, because of the personal experience and the personal interaction with some of the subject matters I deal with. It has called for me to change my thinking, to become more aware of things that I wasn't so embodying. It's also had to make me more accountable for the changes that I am reading about and learning about. I have to embody them and do them. And so I think that change is hard. It's hard for me. I think as an audience member, I don't think people go to see dance just to be entertained. I don't think so. I think people go to be inspired. I think people go to be informed. I think people go to see something new and unexpected.
Yeah.
And I think, sorry, did you want to tag in, Marjani?
Yeah, no, I was just dropping in with you. Is my background too loud, guys?
No, you're fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was going to say that I completely agree. I wonder sometimes I poke at a little bit, Joan, this idea that it's natural. I wonder on how natural it is for the human being to want to elevate. Like when I think about just watching my son grow, when I think about like his urges, the thing that intrigued him, we were actually really into school when we first started, you know what I mean? Just grabbing that information was like eating a full meal. And I think that kind of thing really sticks around, which is what makes art so yummy, is that when it's rich, when it's deeply woven, when it's speaking to a very specific perspective, it somehow resonates on so many human levels. And I think that's what it is that we look for in each other in terms of that kind of reflection. So audience expectations are tricky, because I don't want to be too invested in what it is that they're expecting, right?
Right, absolutely. Absolutely, you make the art.
Yeah, but certainly we all come
You make the art and you put it out there, right?
That's right. And it's their hunger, actually. It's their intangible, visceral hunger, energetic hunger in the room that feeds me as a performer and as a choreographer.
Mm-hmm.
Together we meet each other there.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the things that is so clear about both of you is your engagement in the world. So you're engaged as artists, you're engaged in your own self-excavation as artists, but you're also engaged in such a tangible way with the world, and your art also is expressed in other kinds of engagement in the world, teaching, community organizing. Marjani, you now have this online platform, Art and Power. Is that what it's called? Art and Power, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I don't, I wouldn't say it was online, though we will be online because that's the medium that we have right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Can you just talk about the importance of those,
Yeah.
expanded activities beyond your dance making to both of you, which to me marks you as what I call artist slash citizens of the
Uh,
world.
yeah, totally. Um, well, I have to quote someone who I've been speaking or saying her name a lot. Maybe we'll do something together one day. Adrienne Marie Brown, um, and her work with emergent strategy. Some of the language that she gives us to name the things that we're all yearning for, which is this idea of shaping future. And then I got to lean there again on James Baldwin and the way he talks about the role of the artist and our ability to speak to experiences that are otherwise impossible to know without doing it itself, like death, right? But only the artist can really speak to dying without having to die themselves.
Right.
And so then our role as citizens and artists, I think, takes on another something more comparable to that of a minister. um, and so I think, and with that comes a certain kind of labor and rigor and a certain kind of visioning. And so Art and Power, in its dedication to Black purpose and innovation, is about cultivating more of those kinds of thinkers and beings and dreamers. Not that they don't already exist, but where are the institutions for our voices? Where
Right.
are the institutions for our dreams and our visions that acknowledge our inherited superpower, um, that is ancient and, and futurist all at the same time? I think Art and Power,
Sankofa again.
that's right. There you go. I think Art and Power seeks to be that kind of a platform
Yes.
and eventually that kind of an institution.
Kyle, can you talk about how you work with students and both high school and college students? What is foremost in your sense of purpose in working with them?
Yeah. Um, I just want to tag on to what Marjani just said about the artist as prophet, the artist as minister. I think that is really resonating with me, and also the responsibility that um, artists can have in sharing their work and displaying their work and bringing people to see it. Um, in regards to teaching, I find it really exciting to encourage students to find their own voices. To me, like, I can teach phrases, I can do that kind of thing, but I'm more interested in nourishing a younger artist's voice by creating prompts or exercises that might get them to move, but also will get them to make up movement. I'll do a lot of writing in my classes to help them reflect. We'll do a lot of conversation or shared material. They'll make something, they'll teach it to someone else in class. And so for me, it's been about really bringing awareness to their own voice, recognizing and helping them recognize their own power, and showing them that there's a way to keep going forward with that. I think that's the most important thing I find about teaching is to instill a curiosity, to instill a creative pursuit, as opposed to trying to teach a replication. To me, I think it's more important, at least my place feels more important as a way of helping others um, in their own voices.
Yeah, that's very clear. The old saw, the mind is a muscle.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, the
yeah,
voice is a muscle. Voice is a muscle, and voice matters. Especially training the muscle of voices that are historically and traditionally excluded or oppressed in our society. Voice matters.
that's right.
Well, I think I'm gonna wrap this up by asking our viewers if they have any questions or comments that they'd like to post in the chat. And I will be looking at the chat to see what's coming in.
I just want to shout out Maria, who's working with us as our creative producer for 7 Names. Hey, Maria, I see you in there.
Thank you. Oh, we have oh. Where do you look for inspiration for your work? That just came into the chat. Would either of you like to speak to that?
I get so much inspiration from my family. I get a lot of inspiration also though from if I'm like really completely honest, my evolution as a woman. I mean, this thing, Joan, this thing.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Oh,
Oh,
my
yes.
God, who I am in
Yes.
my 30s is so different than who I was in my 20s.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
One of the womanist perspective and the womanist standpoint.
That's right. That
Absolutely.
is so vibrant for
Yes.
me, and my art is how I process the world, and so like all of the different occurrences. I think Unicorn ultimately came from that place of wombhood. So
Yeah. And Unicorn
Mhm.
mined the life and perspectives of your father
Right.
in the body of a woman.
That's right.
So that was a very interesting alchemy that you somehow performed there.
Yes.
Kyle, do you want to talk just briefly about your inspiration?
I often feel inspired by history, or by also how how my body sits in that history, the history of my own body as well. I feel like, especially during this COVID time, I've really been excavating my own self and like my own Jamaican history and my own like masculine history, and like trying to just understand a bit better how to, what are the things that I need to recognize and let go of? What are the things I need to bring forward with me? And those have been really influencing my creative work recently.
Yeah. And we have another question, which, it kind of builds on what you said about this period of time and the kind of self-reflection it's engendered. How has the pandemic changed your creative process?
Oh man, it's drawn me very near to who we are calling lovingly our kinfolk now. Like all the artists, when I think of the Black arts movement, right? And I think about the Harlem Renaissance and those pictures, we saw like, who do we see in that picture, Kyle? Like Lorraine Hansberry, James Baldwin, and Billie Holiday, and God, all these folks, right? And these different, and I think about who we are. Who do you say?
I was just saying, and interacting with each other as people.
Right. That's right. Exactly. And so in that, I think moments like this that challenge our field so directly, so kind of like right in the gut, we have an opportunity to like look to our left and our right about, well, what medium are we in now? And right now is it's the film's moment. This is an opportunity for film to really have not just the spotlight, but to be in close collaboration with the dreamers or the visionaries of performance. And for us to draw those connections and to build and not draw them, they've been there. But I think for those things to really lift themselves up, because we are having a hard time, I think, communicating solely through this notion of live performance through these
boxes.
Boxes.
These little boxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the pandemic has really brought out the village in my life.
I definitely hear you in that. I feel like it's made me very aware of the community that's around me. I've learned and have gone through a huge journey as to what that means, and like how I can support the people around me, or how in the past pre-pandemic, how maybe I didn't support those around me as deeply as I could have. And so it's been a learning about like what I have you know, thankfully, like what I have, and how can I use what I have as a resource, the
Yeah.
knowledge that I have as a resource, the company as I have as a resource towards the people around me. How can my art making not just be about my own vision, but literally about providing opportunity for others, I think is really important to me recently. I've been pushing the digital. I've been making digital works and like exploring editing as a new medium, and learning how, or different ways of choreographing or creating choreography. Um, Family has definitely been nourishing for me and uplifting for me, and to know how I can be available and be around in this pause in my career that I wasn't maybe around or as available before that time.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, I think the slowing down has been really informative from my practice, because I haven't had this much space before to make work, to think about it, to sit with ideas, to write and research and archive the information. Has been like such a great, it's been such a good time for that.
Yeah.
And it's something that I want to keep with me as I keep building work in the future.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. You know, the silver linings of this pandemic, right? And
Yeah.
artists and artists like you both, such deep thinkers and extraordinary art makers and performers, um, know how to take advantage of this moment creatively in a way that perhaps some others find challenging. So um, I'm going to close it now. Um, I'm just so happy to know you both. And I'm so happy you're both in the world making your art and shaping the future of our field. I can't think of anyone better to
Wow.
do that
Thank you.
in a thoughtful and skilled and passionate way. So
Thank you.
thank you. Oh, Kyle, before we get off, hold up that award if you would, because it makes me happy
Yeah. Oh
to see it.
That's a great idea.
Well, so people will know. There it is. And we will see you tonight
Right.
at the Dance Magazine Awards ceremony.
Looking forward to
Thank
it.
you again. Thank you, everybody who has been on this call, for joining us. And I think this has been recorded and may be available after this moment. So until tonight.
Thank you. Until tonight. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.